I wanted to be immersed in the culture. I wanted to actually feel like I was a Marine, you know, either a door kicker or, you know, on the battle space, doing that job. Yeah, everybody was, you could feel the stress and anxiety amongst a lot of the guys, like, okay, we're about to do something that, you know, many of us might not make it out of. Like for me, I had, you know, was struggling with nightmares of Afghanistan. It was just constant, you know, reoccurring dreams. You know, one of the tasks for me at Abbey Gate was basically dragging people, pushing people to the exits. Where the Taliban, you know, the snipers, you know, they attest to this, watching, you know, basically execute people. You could see the fear in these people's faces of being returned back to Afghanistan or back to the Taliban. I mean, it was rough, and people, you know, basically begging you to kill them instead.
Joe Laude.
So, brother.
Brother, thanks for joining me, man.
Of course, man.
Dude, here we are.
I know.
Here we are again.
Here we are again.
Man, I'm glad that you were able to do this. You know, how long have we known each other for? Probably only since 2022, maybe.
I mean, you reached out when we first started, kind of got synced up there, and then I think
When did you first start?
We started the year after, so it had been 2022 in August.
Okay.
So it was the first year anniversary of
Okay, that's
the
when you
withdrawal.
started.
Yeah.
So just for all of you guys out there, for context, Joe, you are one. There's a couple other people that helped found it as well, right?
So no, I am the actual founder.
The actual founder.
Yeah,
okay.
the founder. Then you know, the founding board came into, you know, into the frame probably about like a month after that.
Yeah. So Joe here is the founder of Operation Allies Refuge Foundation, which is where I got this awesome shirt from, and a lot of the other shirts that I've got. Like there's one that's got the C-130 or the C-17 on it. Very iconic images of C-17s from the withdrawal, obviously. So that kind of is a part of the background of the organization, of course. Yeah, but so a year in, we must have connected sometime in 2022 then, I guess.
Yeah, I think 2022, it was like an Instagram exchange and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then I think a year later, I think we linked up for the first time.
Yeah,
at
in
one of our-
person.
yeah.
Yeah,
One
over
of
in
our
North
social
Carolina.
gatherings.
Oh,
Something
yeah,
like
yeah.
that. Yeah.
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 Because you had the beach runs and stuff like that during the you know, in August, like on the anniversary of the evacuation of the actual like bombing and stuff like that. So I think that was the first time we actually met, was during that. But yeah, I obviously a lot's happened since we first met. It feels like now with the 24-hour news cycle, things change on a dime. Like, for example, this Saturday, there was that 48-hour ultimatum that was issued out, and then today that all changed. Like, now there's something different. And by the time this comes out, people will be like, oh, yeah, I remember when that was issued. But yeah, it changes. It could change in a matter of days. Like, sometimes even 24 hours, and there's just so much happening so fast. But you guys have remained pretty consistent with your messaging and your branding and your mission, and it's evolved. It's changed a little bit. Like, obviously, like, you know, as you've gotten older, and you were already an older cat, you know, when you joined the Marine Corps. Obviously, like we'll get into that stuff too. But like, you know, you guys have kind of shifted a little bit as you've found new innovative ways to be of use and of service to people. I've found.
Yeah.
You know, that's one of the things, like, especially after Hurricane Helene, which we talked, like, it was kind of, I don't think I expected to hear from you as much as I did during that period of time, but like we ended up like really talking a lot during that period of time, because you were like trying to find ways to get in there and do stuff, to be of service and bringing people together. And you guys ended up doing a lot of work during that as well, which I think was awesome. And that was really cool, being able to like connect during a very odd, like a strange time, you know. But I want to kind of start back kind of at the beginning, and we'll work our way up to it, because I want people to get to know a little bit about your background, where you're from, like when you were in the Marine Corps for, what you did while you were in the Marine Corps. We can talk a little bit about the deployment. Don't have to go super detailed. People can look that stuff up for the most part. And then I want to talk a little bit more about what the organization does, how it was founded, how you came up with the idea, and kind of how it's shifted from the original mission set that you kind of came up with to kind of where it is now, and what you see in the future that kind of lies ahead for the organization. Because I think you guys do good work. And I know maybe, I don't know if it seems, or if you're able to see the impact that you're having. It's hard to tell. It's like, I can't tell what impact I'm having. Maybe I'm having one, maybe I'm not. I don't know, but it's hard for me to perceive that. I would imagine it's probably similar for you guys.
Yeah, I mean, it's always, you do it and you don't get, people coming to you and telling you exactly like, hey, this is what I'm seeing, stuff like that. But the thing is like when the beneficiary or the individual that we're supporting or helping comes to you and say, things like, dude, like this organization saved my life, is everything to us. And our goal isn't to necessarily like make a massive change with thousands of vets, but we're kind of like really focused on the individual. And if this person can get through their challenges and get to a place where they can actually get back to living their life, in a positive way, because the things that they experienced in the military, it's not ever going to go away. It's gonna be buried somewhere. But if they can learn to live through it and get through what they're trying to become, that's exactly what we're trying to do. So yeah.
Well, I think you guys do good work, and obviously you've gotten into a whole bunch of new stuff now that, like I said, it's kind of evolved in a way. It's changed, which is normal. That's kind of like how life works. Like, your life is not just like a solid string that's pulled tight. It's more like, I view it more like, if you pour a gallon of water out on the ground, the water tends to find all these different routes to take, and it kind of flows in whatever natural direction that it's taken based on gravity, based on the contour of the ground, based on the foliage, based on the obstacles in its way, and you kind of like, it bends naturally around these things and keeps moving forward. And that's kind of how life feels like to me, in a lot of ways. Because like you can try to steer the boat a little bit, but oftentimes I've found that, sometimes these things take us in directions we didn't originally anticipate, and maybe we didn't think of, and sometimes it's good, sometimes it's maybe not the greatest, but I tend to think that most of the time it ends up being the way that it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. No, I totally
whether I agree with it or not,
Yeah. I think it's, it's almost like trying to just consistently trying to move like the needle forward.
Yeah.
And everyone has a play in that, and as long as you're continually trying to pursue that, at least trying to solve a problem, as long as you're staying somewhat consistent, you'll play a part and play a role in that.
Yeah.
In the end state, like, it's hard to define what an end state looks like when you're trying to combat, veteran suicide, or fix the moral injury circumstance when it comes to veterans.
And the moral injury piece is something I want to definitely revisit as we work through this, because that's something 100%. A lot of people don't have a real good concept of or perception of.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And I think you could probably speak on that a lot better than me, because you've spent a lot more time investing energy into learning about it, more so than myself. Oh, yeah. So that's definitely something I want to pick your brain on as well. But before we get too deep in the weeds on that, let's start back kind of at the beginning. Where are you from originally?
So I'm from Northern Virginia. I grew up in a small town called Lovettsville. Okay. It's
Lovettsville?
Yeah, Lovettsville. It's close to, so it's like at the, I would say it's not far from Harper's Ferry, if you're familiar with where Harper's Ferry is at.
Yeah, I've heard the name before, yeah.
So it's not far from there, small town. But yeah, it was enjoyable growing up in that side of Northern Virginia. Very quiet.
Yeah.
Peaceful.
What'd you do when you were a kid, like for fun? You play outside?
Yeah, dude. I mean,
Of course, regular kid stuff.
It's the only things you can do out there. I mean, I grew up, playing competitive soccer.
Oh, no kidding. Me too.
Yeah, so I was very, very into the sport. Played at the highest level when it comes to, the youth programs, and yeah, it was interesting. Adding soccer, then the team aspect of that, and going into the military. Which is a huge addition if you had a team sport.
Yeah.
And also the physical side of that, which is also another huge addition if you were a soccer player, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Which a lot of times people get confused when it comes to the infantry, because it's an endurance sport. It's not necessarily a how much you can throw up on your on bench press, you know what I mean? Stuff like that. So
although everybody always wants to be benching like 4
the
or
biggest
5.
dude, that's I think also another problem with the infantry is it's not always about the biggest dude. It's about how quick you can move the weight on your back, and then how fast you can maneuver.
Yeah.
So
and for how long you can maneuver.
100%. So
because like the guy, and it's not always the case. I knew some really big dudes who were good hikers. I also knew some really small dudes who were good hikers. And a lot of it goes back to having like heart, because you can have a whole lot of heart and not a lot of muscle, and you can get through a lot.
Yeah, 100%, man. I mean, I think that at the end of the day, as long as you are confident and you have the ability to go out and do those things, like, yeah, you have at least the ideological backing to support it. But yeah, the physical fitness is another huge thing, man. So it's like your physical fitness is a direct reflection of that mindset.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter how big or small you are, if you're able to contribute meaningfully to that endeavor, then you're good.
Yeah. So you were probably in good cardio shape when you were younger and playing soccer, more than likely.
Great cardio. Also, the physical side, I wasn't necessarily like, I was not weak, in the military, so that's helpful too. But the cardio is a big thing. I think that's has been neglected when I was in the infantry at the time.
Yeah.
Cardio is everything. If you're not quick, if you're not moving, if you don't have the endurance and the strength, then you're just not in the right position.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
I think finding a way to balance the two is important, because like obviously if I can deadlift 405, squat 315 and bench 225 or 315, but also be capable of running 7.5 minute miles for 3 miles, I think that's pretty good. That's a good like medium range thing. I mean, some people might view that as like that's on the high end of fitness, but I'll never be the guy that's running 3 miles in 18 minutes. And I'm also never going to be the guy that's benching 405 or squatting 500 pounds. Like, just not going to happen. Like, at my strongest, I think I was deadlifting a little over 500 pounds. And I could squat 405 and I bench 315. I can't do that right now because, like, my testosterone needs some supplementation probably. I'm much older now than I was then, too. But, well, not much older, but a little older. But, I do think that it's nice to be both strong and capable, physically strong, and also being able to have some endurance. Like I ran, like I did a run the other day, which was like around 5 miles. And the first like half of it, I was sucking wind, dude. It was just like miserable. And then after that first half of that 5 miles is up, and then it's just like I've got a good sweat going and my like energy system is like functioning and like moving stuff around. Then I started kind of getting into a rhythm and I was like, oh, okay, now I feel good. You know, now I can just like keep moving and just like focus on my breathing. I feel good, which that's not always the way that it works for everybody. Everyone's built different and everybody has different levels of cardiovascular capability, and everybody trains differently,
Yeah.
I try to run once a week.
I mean, that's my thinking though, is I think that we have a problem in the military, or at least when I was in, where it was about the lifting the weights and stuff. Those are great. You have to do that.
Yeah.
But I do believe that this is all about endurance. It's all about endurance. Yeah. And you can see that when you train with the British or when you train with the Australians, their primary focus is the cardio. when it comes to the infantry.
Yeah.
And you know, it's a direct reflection of their capabilities. I look, you know, when I see their actual training and their maneuvering, it's class.
Yeah.
And I think we need to get back to that in the
Yeah.
Marine Corps.
I think one of the things that I recall seeing a lot during my brief period in the infantry was a lot of the 11s and a lot of the line companies were doing a lot more endurance training. Now, that doesn't mean that we weren't doing endurance training in the weapons company. We were still doing a lot of endurance training. I mean, we did this one workout one day, I'll never forget, where we had 2 tractor tires, and it was like, it pays to be a winner. We split the platoon in half, basically one section versus the other section. And there's this hill in Hawaii called KT Hill. And it's like right in the center of the base. There's a G-boss up on the top that can like see the entire base, like one of those big cameras. And it's like this windy hill. We used to go up that thing every time we would do like battalion hikes and stuff like that. But we did PT over there occasionally. It's really steep. It's like 7% grade or more. It's steep. And we did tire flips all the way up as a team. Like you flip it as many times as you can. And then when you get tired, you run to the back and you're like jogging in place, or you're doing some sort of workout or something. I can't remember what. Oh no, you know what it was? It's kind of like what is it when you're like running back and then you run back up to catch up? You like run back to a point, like there's a cone, you run back and then you run back to the back of the line. That's what it was. I can't remember what that's called.
Kind of like you
know what I'm talking about? It's kind of like a relay almost, where you get done flipping, and as soon as you can't flip anymore, then you run down to the nearest cone, and then you hit that cone, and then you run back up to the back of the line, and you get back in line, and you're jogging in place while you're waiting to flip
Indian
tires.
run?
Yeah, like an Indian run.
Okay.
It's kind of like that. Yeah, but we're doing flipping tires the whole way up this hill. And that was like a dude broke off. But that set us up for success, because then by the time we're doing battalion hikes with 50 cals and Mark 19s, and we're walking up this hill with all of our gear, and like all these dudes are falling out, we weren't falling out because we were in good shape. We had good endurance, we had good cardio, you know. Now granted, my platoon was also full of jacked machine gunners, you know, but everybody was in pretty good shape. Like genuinely, everybody's in pretty good shape. We had very few people that fell out of hikes during that period of time, at least in 2015, 2016. But anyway, I could ramble off on a lot of this. I think we did do a lot of cardio, and it you know what, it probably varies from unit to unit. It might even vary from platoon to platoon. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, maybe that was just the experience you had in your platoon. Maybe a different platoon had a different experience as far as like how they would PT potentially.
Yeah, I mean, my platoons typically were very physically fit. I mean, you know, being involved with like the machine gun section.
You were in a line company, right?
Yeah, I was in a line. I was also in CAT.
You were in both?
Yeah, I was in both. Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so you get the taste of, you know, I got the taste of a lot of different infantry styles and the way that they do their physical fitness.
Yeah. It's very different, probably going from a line company to the weapons company.
Yeah, it's a little bit different. There's a lot more cardio in the line company for sure.
Yeah.
In CAT, the primary focus is the strength, moving that equipment.
Yeah.
Which makes sense, but I think it gets comfortable, and guys get comfortable not, you know, engaging in too much cardio.
Yeah.
And I think it's at a detriment. You know, I mean, I think personally, you know, as a machine gunner, obviously you have to be capable of being the strong one.
Yeah.
Being able to throw the weight on your back and to move with that weight, but how fast can you move with that weight is the question. You know, when you get off the truck or your truck gets flipped, can you actually move that weapon system as quickly as possible to a key terrain feature?
Yeah.
And I think that to me is a very important piece or aspect to all infantrymen, just military in general, is how can you move?
Yeah.
How quickly can you move? Can you move the weight fast? Stuff like that. So yeah.
Well, let's talk about this. When did you first? So how old were you when you joined?
So I was 22. I was
22.
Yeah.
What year was that?
That would have been 2017. No, yeah, 2017.
2017.
Yeah.
So you're 22. Did you go to college before?
I did. Yeah.
How many years of college?
So I completed my college.
You had a bachelor's degree before you joined?
Yep, and I enlisted right after, yeah.
Wow.
Oh, yeah.
We had a guy like that. His name was Mackenzie. If he sees this, I'm sure he'll be like, he'll probably be like, why'd you have to mention my name? But yeah, Mackenzie, I think he had a bachelor's in mathematics. I want to say he's from Philly. And he was in the same boat. And I'm always surprised when I see somebody show up to the fleet with a bachelor's and they're a private. I'm like, why didn't you go officer? You know, like straight out. But I also get it. Like, you know, it's like you're kind of earning your way through, you know. Or maybe that's just like the path you wanted to do because there's a certain job you wanted to do that you were like, I'm really dead set on wanting to do this job.
And that's it. I think, you know, for me, you know, the officer route, you know, which was, you know, I wanted to be immersed in the culture. I wanted to actually feel like I was a Marine, you know, either door kicker or, you know, on the battle space, doing that job versus a particular, you know, route that ultimately leads to paperwork and sitting at a desk. That wasn't the culture I was looking for.
Yeah,
you know, at the time.
I wasn't looking for the culture of Excel docs and PowerPoint slides and spreadsheets.
No, absolutely not.
Yeah.
I wanted that. I was chasing that dragon in particular.
Yeah.
And definitely just wanted to be involved with, you know, being around guys who wanted the same thing. And, you know, you definitely get that spirit, you know, being a machine gunner.
What made you, like, what specifically were you looking for when you joined the infantry?
Yeah, I think this goes with a lot of people, to be the chase the challenge of being in combat. I think that was something that I wanted to seek out for myself and see if that was, you know, part of my evolution, growing into something bigger, chasing a purpose, stuff like that. Definitely chasing that challenge for sure.
Yeah, I think that was one of the reasons that I joined the infantry as well. I mean, most of the guys I knew that were in the infantry joined because they wanted to experience combat. They wanted to see if they could handle what that entailed, you know, because nobody knows what that's like if they don't experience it. I still don't know what it's like because I still haven't experienced it. But most of us were there for a singular purpose. And we joined like in the latter years of the GWAT, like 2014. So like most people that were doing rotations were going and just standing post. There wasn't any like real big combat operations going on during that time. Not even for East Coast Marines who were going to Iraq. You know, I had buddies that you served with that went out to like Al-Anbar province to like stand post and stuff like that. But some of them did some like things like trap missions out there.
Yep.
So some of them did some things, but which that's for people that don't know what trap means. It stands for Tactical Recovery of Air Personnel, which is a whole complicated topic that I don't know enough about to speak on like in an educated manner. So I'm not going to elaborate. But look up trap missions, and you'll be able to see what that means. But it was weird being in Hawaii Marine at the time. Like our units stopped going to CENTCOM in 2011. That was the last time they deployed out there. Was so 2-3 went to Marja in 2010, and that was the last combat deployment that they ever did before they deactivated. But and you were a West Coast guy, right?
I was.
You went to West Coast. You went to ITB East Coast though?
No, West Coast. Yeah.
Really?
Oh yeah.
How did you go out to West
Coast?
Coast?
Recon contract.
You had a recon contract.
Oh yeah.
Did you go to the BRC?
So I went through BRPC, passed, went to BRC.
Oh, BRPC is before BRC.
Yep, that's before that. Went through recon.
It's basically like an indoc.
Yeah, so it's more or less like a selection.
Okay.
It kind of preps you for BRC. It's a primer course.
Gotcha.
And
so the P stands for?
Yeah. So it's just evaluating whether or not you'd be capable of going through BRC. And so I passed that, went through BRC, and then during the patrol phase, during the patrolling, the graded patrols, I lost a tent stake for a grounding wire, and went through the death hike. After the death hike, I got performance dropped for losing that tent stake. Yeah. So yeah, recon is very much a you can't mess up at recon at BRC. So
yeah, no, I get it. I mean, that's on one hand, I could imagine you were probably very frustrated for getting dropped after passing everything because you lost a single tent stake. But I also understand like they hold a very specific standard for a reason because they're alone and unafraid. Like, what if that tent stake was something else that was more important, you know?
Yeah, I mean,
but it's frustrating.
There's a lot of questions I've had with that drop.
I'm sure.
Personally, I don't need to go into it, but
yeah,
I think it may have been like a personality difference between me and some of the instructors.
Oh, personality-driven decisions.
Yeah. So.
Oh, that's unfortunate.
Whatever happens with that, I'm grateful for it because I got the experience, like basically the entire course for the most part.
You finished the death hike.
Yeah, finished the death hike. Yeah, it got dropped, and then these are lessons you learn. Like sometimes the failure is like the biggest opportunity, and I wouldn't have potentially have gotten that experience in Afghanistan if I didn't get dropped. You know what I mean? So
it's true.
And then going out and then relearning, the trade of being a machine gunner.
Because you had to go through the entire POI.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Go back to ITB, do that.
Is it 4-week POI?
No, I mean I went back and did the entire ITB after. Yeah.
Really?
Oh yeah.
The whole thing.
The whole thing. Yeah.
After going through all of the whole entire recon pipeline.
Yep. Yeah, went back to and it was a blessing because they gave me the opportunity. I had a lot of instructors at BRC actually that really liked me, was looking out for me, and for the most part, you don't get an option. If you get dropped from BRC and they're like, no, we're gonna give you what you want, and I was like, send me back to the infantry.
Okay, so a lot of times people get dropped and they get sent to a completely different field of OS?
You get handed off to the Marine Corps, wherever the Marine Corps wants, or needs, like you go fulfill that.
Wow.
So I got the opportunity to go back and do what, at least what was part of my alignment at the time, which was being in the infantry.
Yeah, you were what you felt called to do.
In courses like this, regardless of whether or not you get dropped or whatever, it makes better Marines. And I think, as long as you, not stuck in your head and you have, enough to bring back to your unit, it's a great thing, man. So
yeah,
I definitely don't regret that contract at all, man. I learned a lot and getting pushed through it, not quitting.
Somebody out here is going to hear that and be like, damn.
Just don't quit.
I needed to hear somebody say that.
Just don't quit.
Well, yeah, just don't quit. That's how you pass a lot of things. But also, if you do fail, if the off chance that you do, it's okay. That doesn't mean that you don't. That doesn't mean that you quit because it's okay to just fail all the time. But if you gave it everything you had and you still failed, it can be taken as like a learning experience or just like
100%.
Rather than like you said, getting stuck in your head and being like all mopey, woe's me, because you could spend time doing that for sure, or you could spend time doing, okay, what's the next thing I need to do now?
Yeah, and the plus side of going to recon and stuff, you get the physicality. They do a great job over there, like tuning up a Marine.
Tuning you up?
Yeah, tuning you up, man. So
like a damn,
but
like a damn Ford Bronco dog.
But dude, like seriously though, like I left recon, went to ITB, got the what's the most physically fit?
Ironman?
Got the Ironman at the ITB.
Wow.
Yeah, so
no
it's
kidding.
like, yeah, great hiker too. Like I was probably one of the, if not the best hiker. That's what basically led me to become a machine gunner.
No kidding.
So yeah, man, 100%. It's a
funny.
blessing, man. So
they wanted me to be a machine gunner when I was there, but I was like, no,
yeah,
I want to ride in trucks.
Which is an anomaly, right? My height, my stature.
Yeah, it is an anomaly. Yeah, to be a smaller machine gunner.
Yeah, so. Yeah, but with that, like I think soccer had to play with my physical development too, to make me able to perform.
You had that baseline that was already established.
Yeah. So, Yeah, it was going back to ITB and instantly just becoming a leader there because of my experience already, and then
and you had a bachelor's degree too, so you're older than all the 18-year-old kids going through.
It's a plus, man. Yeah. It's a plus to be the older guy, the more physically capable guy at the time, and then being able to take that forward. It's awesome.
And if you're the most handsome guy there,
yeah, you got to be.
That
cute,
helps.
Man.
You gotta be cute while you're doing your little hikes.
You gotta be cute, dude. You gotta be cute. You get the 50 cal on your back, and you're.
You gotta turn to your homies and ask them if they think you look cute too.
As long as you look good, dude, you can do whatever you want.
Yeah. Hey, you know what's funny is one of my old platoon sergeants. I'm not gonna out him, but he said, what did he say? We said every op is a photo op, but he also said something about he's like, the best competition is to see who can have the best hair in the field. And I don't know where these came from, but it's just like these little idiosyncrasies that people come up with just from spending years in these positions where you're doing that. That when you're in that profession, because there's things that cross your mind and experiences that you have and things people say that are passed down from generations that you would otherwise not be exposed to. And there's there's a definite culture to it that I think is very unique, especially to the Marine Corps, which I think is very valuable, and it definitely shaped who I am a lot as well. Just having those experiences. But anyway, so you get done with the machine gunner POI, and then you find out you're going to Camp Pendleton.
Yeah, so I was at Camp Pendleton for the recon, right?
Yeah.
And then just instantly went back to ITB, then went into the fleet with 1-1.
Oh, you went to 1-1 first?
I went to 1-1 first, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
1-1.
1-1 Charlie Company was my first assignment.
How long did you spend with them?
So I was with 1-1 for a good amount of time. I think maybe almost 2 years. And
2
then
years.
So I started out in the line company, and then eventually went into the sniper and doc, and went with the scout. I was with Blackheart.
Okay.
Yeah, so I was with them. I was a pig over there, and then
little piggy.
Deployed over to Australia. Yeah, deployed to Australia. Went through the Australian Mod 1 course, which was absolute blast, which is their sniper and doc.
For Murph D?
Yeah, Murph
okay.
D. Yeah.
That's cool, man. Murph D is a freaking sweet rotation. I've never been, but everybody that I know that's gone said that it was a blast.
Oh, dude, it is. Australia is just another place, man. It's beautiful landscape. The people there are awesome.
Yeah. Did you get some libo?
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh,
dude.
nice. Everybody's a libo hound in Australia, man.
It's too easy. It's like a vacation.
Yeah.
And you get to train and do a lot of cool stuff with the Aussies, and the Aussies are very, very good at their craft.
Yeah.
And once you're done with once I was done with that, it went came back home and ended up leaving the Scout Sniper team. Went to CAT. Went back, that was the next option for me. Went to CAT.
What made you leave the sniper platoon?
It was opportunities. We weren't getting opportunities at the time for, going to the schoolhouse and stuff like that. And also it was kind of, getting a little bit fatigued with the pig life that was instilled in that culture.
I gotcha.
Which was, I think it's learned behavior, I think, within the Scout Sniper platoons at the time, or at least that one in particular, which was like, hey, it just didn't click for me to be a pig for any longer.
Yeah. So
went to CAT, and learned how to be within that team element, which was really cool. It was being a vehicle commander with them.
And this was in 1-1 still.
This was still in 1-1.
Okay.
Yeah. And then
I would say that each sniper platoon is probably different, and because a lot of it's personality driven. Mm-hmm. And then also in addition to that, it's also based on how many school seats they're getting, and then the personality driven piece comes into play when they're determining who's going to school and who's not going to school. Because obviously once you become a hog, your life is very different than it is when you're a pig, right?
Yeah, 100%. And I think that was one of the hardest things, because you're capable as a pig. I think more or less capable because you are training all the time.
Yeah.
And in certain teams, right, the hogs aren't training, or consistently training.
Yeah, it depends. And again, it depends on, it's personality driven. It depends on the unit. It depends on who the platoon sergeant is. It depends on who the platoon commander is. All that stuff can play into that.
100%.
It depends on who your chief scout is.
Yeah.
Your chief scout can make a real difference in a platoon, and it varies. It varies a lot. Obviously, now I don't even know what the scout sniper platoons look like anymore. They might even be integrated with the headquarters company. I haven't talked to anybody about that in a minute because most of my friends that were snipers either got out or went to MARSOC, and so like they're not doing that stuff anymore.
The schoolhouse is done as well. So.
Yeah, the schoolhouse is done. Yeah, RIP.
So,
which it'll come back. Just give it time.
Yeah,
it'll come back. They're going to be like, "Oh, that was a
mistake.
Maybe that was a poor decision."
It is a massive mistake.
Yeah.
These teams too, these scout sniper teams, if they had shifted a little bit of their culture at the time too, like I think it would be very, very important for anybody to try or attempt to get into an indoc.
Yeah. I think that more than likely people will want them to come back or want it to come back because it went away after Vietnam as well. And then it came back, I think it was gone for a while. I think it came back in the 80s. It might have come back in the 80s when we were doing our Southcom thing back then. So, I mean, who knows? It might end up coming back. I think that like the amount of training that gets put into people who were in the sniper platoon it was just a lot. It was a lot more training, I feel like. A lot more opportunity. At least from my limited experience. I might not be seeing everything. There may be other things that I don't know about. I'm not doing that that's not my profession anymore, so I may not know a lot of the other nuanced details that may have led up to that decision making. So I don't know for sure, but
it's a lot different with the use of drones now.
UAS for sure has changed everything.
So the actual scouting side of scout sniper is a lot of people think is obsolete, but to me, I think it's still one of the most important professions in the infantry to have. And it just, I don't know, to me, I think it's just, like you said, it's going to come back because it is a needed profession.
Yeah, because I mean, dude, even if you have a good UAS operator, good UAV operator, if that person doesn't know how to stalk, they're going to be relying on two things. They're going to be relying on either using a fiber optically controlled UAS that has enough fiber optic wire to travel the distance that it needs to go to reach the objective, or you're going to rely on somebody who's got a RF UAV, but then you're running the risk of getting jammed. That being said, if you've got somebody that can also stalk, they can get closer to the objective. And if they've got a fiber optic UAS, maybe they have less wire, maybe they don't need to travel as far of a distance. Maybe they can get eyes on with like some sort of optic before they are taking off with UAS. Because once the UAS is in the air, people can hear that. People on the objective are going to hear that. You're running the risk of getting detected. Whereas people, I mean, it depends because like obviously infrared, because they're going to have UAS maybe potentially like loitering around their position too, to just watch for people that are approaching their position. There's so much stuff that's changed. SOPs totally changed, and they're going to continue to change. And we haven't even really, like the Ukrainians right now, probably have better counter UAS SOPs right now than we do because they've been fighting that fight for 6 years at this point. Or, sorry, 4 years. Yeah, 4 years.
It's so important to stay within the basics, though, like training and understanding the basics, because technology is always going to be changing. The battle space is going to change with that. Yeah. But as long as you're still maintaining the basics along with that, it's so important. That's why I feel like it's us just getting rid of scout snipers doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah. Brilliance in the basics is one of the most commonly repeated phrases that I've heard my entire time by multiple people. Read it in tons of books, read it in tons of publications, had tons of people verbally tell me that.
Oh, yeah.
Especially generals. They love saying brilliance in the basics because it's tried and true.
It's true.
It's tried and true.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, man.
So you went to CAT. You're still in 1-1 at this point. You were doing a workup with them, right?
No, so it was kind of like we just got back from deployment. A couple months passed. Went to CAT. It's kind of like this limbo period of like we're starting to receive like our new junior Marines, and then my time on contract was ending, and so I ended up going to 2-1 for their deployment. And that's how I ended up in 2-1. And
so you went to 2-1 because you were getting ready to get out after that deployment.
Yeah, so I mean, time was ticking on my 5-year contract, and they were just like, okay, we need to get this guy over to another unit that needs him. And 2-1 was available, so I went to 2-1 Echo and joined their line, section for machine guns.
Wow.
Yeah.
So that's how you ended up in 2-1, and that was your last year of your contract?
Yeah, so that was within my last year, yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
What a wild last year.
Yeah, it was, I can't complain.
Yeah, but that's just like, of all the places you could have possibly gone for your last year in the Marine Corps, you go to that unit, who's going to that location for that operation.
Yeah. I mean, we didn't even know about it at the time.
There's no way you would know. Yeah, no way to predict.
SB MAGTAV, and we were doing the trap missions over there. So that was our core mission set.
And did you know the guys in CAT in 2-1?
I knew a few of them. I got to know them. But no, I didn't know anybody when I went to 2-1 for the most part. Yeah.
I had a buddy who's we've talked about this. I'm pretty sure you said that you remembered, you recognized the name. A buddy of mine who was in CAT in 2-1 at that time for that deployment. We served together in the weapons company in CAT in 2-3.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and then when he left, he got out for a brief period of time, and then he joined back up in time to go to that unit just in time for that deployment.
Oh wow.
I think I can't remember if he was a sergeant or a corporal when he went over there, but I think he was. Yeah, I can't remember. He might have been a vehicle commander when he was over there. But yeah. Anyways, you went to Echo Company, and how long were you there doing a workup with them? Did you get a chance to really get to know the guys before you deployed, or?
Yeah, I did, but I think it was. Let's see, I got there, I think it was probably like two months before we deployed. Because they were coming back from, what's it called? ITX, is that right?
Yeah.
Got back from ITX.
They call it something different now, but ITX is what it was, Integrated Training Exercise.
And they got back, they thought we weren't going to go anymore because they were going to pull that deployment. But then we got it back, and then we went through the holiday season, and then into the new year we stepped out, went to Saudi Arabia.
Oh, okay. So you went through the holiday season in 2020.
Yeah.
Going into 2021.
During the COVID mess, yeah.
Wow. And then, so what month did you leave?
I'm gonna guess. I don't know for sure. I'm thinking, it was either February or March.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. So it was like a really off-cycle sounding month.
Yeah. I'm trying to. I can't say for sure what month it was. But
it was in the new year. It was in 2021, like in the spring, maybe later winter, springtime. Okay. And you guys went out to Saudi Arabia.
Yeah.
Where'd you guys go in Saudi Arabia?
I can't tell you for sure.
Yeah.
I don't know why I'm drawing a blank on it, but
it's okay.
Yeah.
It's hard to remember all these places anyway.
Something like that for sure.
Yeah, but you were out in Saudi for how long, you think?
We were out there, I think it was like 6 months or 5 months or something like that.
You were in Saudi
Not for 6 months, but I'm trying to remember. We started out in Kuwait
Okay, where at Arifjan?
Yeah, no.
Buring?
Maybe. No, I think the first one.
Arifjan?
Yeah.
Arifjan's the big one.
Yeah, we started out there, went to Kuwait, went to Saudi Arabia, but we were bouncing around all over the place. You know, I did
Did you go to Jordan?
No, I didn't get to go to Jordan. Went to Baghdad for, security detail.
Really?
Yeah, just flying above. And then after that, we went, just kind of kicked it in Saudi Arabia and then went back and forth between there to Kuwait for training. But yeah, it was, yeah.
How was Saudi?
Low stress, nothing eventful really.
Yeah. How was Saudi?
It was hot.
Was it?
Hot. But yeah, it wasn't bad, man. You know, a deployment like that is just kind of like low stress. You just working out, eating, messing around with the other guys, stuff like that. So yeah, it was easy deployment, man, for the most part.
Yeah, for the first part, yeah. And then when did you guys get the word that you were going to Afghanistan?
I think we started to really understand that Afghanistan was on the table, like late spring. Like, we're getting the idea that this was going to happen, or this could happen.
Like May?
Yeah, just looking at the progression of the Taliban.
And how quickly things were falling.
Yeah, how quick it was falling, and then also we started to map out what HKI looked like.
I remember watching that on the news, like watching this spot fell, this spot fell, this spot. I mean, it was like dominoes, dude. I remember watching it,
almost identical like what happened in Vietnam.
Yeah, it was spooky.
Yeah.
It was spooky.
Spooky, quick, and it was just, frustrating because of how quick it was falling.
After spending 20 years there.
20 years, man.
Not me. I never went to Afghanistan, but after the United States spent 20 years there.
Yeah.
But so you started finding out in late spring that it was on the table. And then when did you guys find out when the table was finally slapped?
I mean, they did a great job of keeping us unaware for the most part, but I think it was up until a month before August, where it was like, okay, like this could be happening, and then it was up until actual August, where it was like, okay, leadership is getting prepped. Everyone's getting ready, and the trigger got pulled August 15th. It was like, a couple of days before August 15th, where everybody was like, okay, you're going.
Yeah.
This is going to happen. And then August 15th happened, and then everything was laid out.
Yeah.
So.
Did you guys flew in on C-17s?
We flew in on C-130s.
Okay.
We were waiting for a C-17. It didn't get to us in time, but.
With your main packs and stuff?
Yeah, we had main packs. We had just about everything to stay in Afghanistan for a month.
So you left some of your things in Saudi Arabia, or?
Just a little bit, yeah. All the things that we could have used or needed at the time, we brought with us.
Yeah.
So main packs, all of our equipment that may be needed, stuff like that. And then, I think August 17th was the day that we actually flew in.
August 17th?
Yeah, August 17th, yeah.
Did you sleep the night prior to going in?
I'm pretty sure I did, but I remember before we even got out there, I remember my staff sergeant talking to us, telling us, hey, expect the worst to happen when we go in.
Your platoon sergeant?
Yeah, platoon sergeant, yeah. And I just remember that night before everybody's, getting their last phone calls in, making peace, thinking that this could be almost like a suicide mission. Going in, we didn't know or understand that we made deals or had anything going on with the Taliban at the time. So we had no idea if this was going to be kinetic, getting on deck out there. So yeah, everybody was, you could feel the stress and anxiety amongst a lot of the guys, like, okay, we're about to do something that, many of us might not make it out of, So definitely stressful. A lot of the guys were, excited and pumped for it, but also hearing about the stories of the Marines that are currently on the ground down there, making it sound like it was like, this is tough stuff. Yeah. This is really rough.
You were talking to people that were already there?
We were getting information from them, not a lot, but I was getting my information from like Twitter, looking up on Twitter, looking at the stories, and I'm like, dude, this is gonna be insane. It's gonna be fun, but it's gonna be
Twitter.
It's gonna be insane. Yeah, that was my source of intelligence at the time.
Yeah.
Because I wasn't, getting it from leadership or anything like that. So I wanted to see what was going on, and
it's probably happening right now too.
Yeah.
Twitter.
Yeah, it was interesting, and I just remember getting on the C-130 and flying in. I remember one of my junior Marines next to me before even diving in, or at least getting close to Afghanistan. We were getting everyone checking their stuff, like last minute checks and stuff like that. And I just remember my junior Marine next to me having a panic attack before flying in. He couldn't catch his breath, getting very anxious and just trying to at least get him to breathe, before going in.
How old was he?
It was intense. He was probably 19 at the time, 19 years old.
And you'd only met him a couple months prior?
Yeah, so I knew him on deployment, basically. He just got to the fleet.
Wow. What a first experience.
Yes.
You didn't get to go to any field ops.
I think he went to one field op.
Yeah.
One field op.
You don't know your seniors or your peers really yet, hardly at all. And then you're going to do this. Mm-hmm. I can't imagine.
Yeah, very young dude, man. Many of them were too, man.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that was his first time just getting anything like that.
That was probably, I'm sure he was terrified.
Yeah, he was terrified.
He didn't have the confidence built up from spending time with his guys for that long enough to know their capabilities, limitations.
Didn't get through, basically the junior Marine phase of, coming to the fleet and getting over these certain training hurdles and stuff like that, or even social hurdles. Yeah. Yet, So his deployment was honestly his workup. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He had a very unique Marine Corps experience compared to most people that go in.
Yeah,
definitely compared to most.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of people that join the Marine Corps and get out after 4 years, 5 years, having never deployed at all. Mm-hmm. Especially nowadays, there's very few people that get that experience, especially nowadays, just given the kind of the way things are right now. But yeah, well, so you landed there. I want to talk a little bit more about the organization, because obviously if people want to look up everything that happened while you guys were there, they can always look that stuff up and they can see. I mean, there's tons of news coverage of everything that happened there. Mm-hmm. You went through this period of, how many days were you on the ground for before you actually left?
So I was down there for, I think 12 days.
12 days?
A total of 12 days.
Okay. Yeah. And you probably hardly slept.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably didn't sleep
not much sleep.
Yeah.
I think the average for us was anywhere between 20 to 32 hours of staying up.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Do you have any energy drinks out there at the time?
Yeah, I think there was a bunch of Rip-Its and stuff out there. If you can get your hands on them, it wasn't always accessible.
Yeah.
But there's plenty of cigarettes and all types of crazy nicotine out there.
Yeah.
I know that there was some guys who were sending care packages out there for the guys and stuff like that.
Man, I wish that at that time I had the life setup that I have right now, because I would have wanted to do the same thing. But at the time I didn't know anybody. I didn't have any connections. I didn't have any reach. I didn't have any ability to do anything at the time. I wish I could have, because that would have been, I knew a lot of people that were involved in doing things like that, and that would have been something that at least if you couldn't be there, you could help in some way, providing morale. Nicotine goes a long way. Energy drinks
100%.
goes a long way when you're over there doing that kind of stuff. I'm glad that there were people that were able to get stuff over to you guys over there.
Yeah.
That definitely helped. I guarantee it helped a lot of people, especially just being mentally, spiritually, physically drained after that period of time. But again, like people that want to look up the things that happened, they can go back and research that stuff. We can save the story of on the ground for another podcast.
Yeah.
What I want to focus on is, so you left, you returned to the States after you got your stuff from Saudi Arabia, and then that was August, and then you got out what
So I got out January 2022.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So immediately when we got back, I was turning in my stuff.
Right over. Yeah. And then where did you go from there once you got out?
Yeah, so I moved back to my family's place in Wilmington, North Carolina.
Okay. And that's where you still have family there.
Yeah, so we have family out there. And yeah, man, I mean, it was kind of like one of these things where, transition's hard and stuff like that, but no one processed Afghanistan or the repercussions of that, and trying to understand where I was emotionally at the time too was kind of interesting, trying to figure out what's my new purpose, stuff like that.
Yeah. Was that a weird time for you in that January when you became, you voluntarily separated, honorably discharged, and then you were separated from the Marine Corps?
Well, it's weird because when you get out, you go through almost like this honeymoon phase of getting out, where it's like, oh, I got all this freedom now, I can do what I want, which is nice. But at the same time, once that fades out and you're just sitting with, your loss of identity, being a Marine, and then trying to transition to something new, it was definitely difficult, 100% difficult. And then also trying to, understand this, some of the things that you saw or witnessed. Like for me, I had, was struggling with nightmares.
Really bad nightmares.
Yeah, nightmares.
All the way out.
Maybe not necessarily nightmares, but just these consistent dreams of Afghanistan. It was just constant, reoccurring just dreams.
Dreams of things that you saw while you were there.
Things that I saw, things that I did, that I was wrestling with at the time, and then coming back and then trying to figure out the simple tasks of doing anything, basically working out, stuff like that again.
What did you have regrets from some of the things that you had to do?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, one of the tasks for me at Abbey Gate was basically dragging people, pushing people to the exits, where the Taliban, the snipers, they attest to this, watching the Taliban, basically execute people.
Really?
You know what I mean? And, the fear of that, you could see the fear in these people's faces of being returned back to Afghanistan or back to the Taliban. I mean, it was rough, and people, basically begging you to kill them instead. And part of my regret in doing that was this was my deployment. This was my kinetic deployment, right? And I forced myself to enjoy it. You know what I mean? And to enjoy essentially abusing refugees or people seeking safety, just to get through all of that. So that was
psychologically change it in your mind.
Yeah.
To get through it, kind of.
Mm-hmm. And that, I think that's something a lot of Marines could attest to. Coming back and thinking about how they acted at the time doing that stuff, and that was when you're trying to throw a mask on something, you try to go in the opposite direction of that, and that's where I think a lot of problems arose amongst many Marines. Some of the leadership who I commend some of the leadership who did this stuff, which was putting us in check. Don't lose yourself out here. You know what I mean? Because you can lose who you are out here very easily.
Yeah.
And in a lot of ways, I called, since, a lot of times we as humans, we're always in a process of becoming. What I call, that Operation Allies Refuge, I thought was the process of unbecoming yourself. Because you were trying to do a certain task that wasn't, morally aligned to your values. You know what I mean? So a lot of people struggled with that, and I know myself included. So
unraveling.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
So which ultimately led to, thinking about like the community at large and, going through the phone calls around, or at least closing in on the first anniversary, going through the phone calls with all the buddies and stuff like that. And all of them being in the same position that I was like, we might as well do something about this because absolutely no one was going to come and save this community. And that's what ultimately led to OAR Foundation.
Yeah.
Yeah, to bring the community back together and then, find some source of empowerment or leadership or healing within the community itself. And that's what ultimately led to starting that.
And that started off with phone calls.
Started out with the phone calls, yeah.
Calling people.
And that's what we do today. That's part of what we're progressing into is that connectivity, the pure leadership of individuals like actually looking out for each other. And that's what ultimately what our goal is to empower that.
Yeah, and part of that is not just the person reaching out, but it's also somebody being receptive to getting those phone calls or people checking on them and not taking that as like, oh, this person thinks there's something wrong with me, or like taking offense to it.
And that's
that happens too.
That's the difference, though, is like with peers, right? No one could say, this guy's trying to be a therapist or anything like that because he's dealing with the same that I'm dealing with.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that's the power of this organization and what we're trying to do going forward is, hey, it's two people with the same shared experience, or at least a shared experience that is very similar, that's learning to move forward together. And that's the power of the foundation, power of any type of peer network.
Yeah.
And if we can amplify that, especially when these guys come back home, from a kinetic deployment or anything like that, if some of these guys take leadership, take ownership of it, the peer community is going to be better off. It's going to stay intact. People are going to know if I'm going through it, I know who to call.
Yeah.
Who's going to be able to walk through this with me. You know what I mean? So it's all about that, man. And at the end of the day, it's like, who is the warrior? Who defines the warrior? It's the person that brings the others back. And it could look different in different ways. It could look different on the battle space. It can look different when you're back home from combat or from a deployment like that.
Right. Now, so it started off with phone calls. When did you know that you wanted to like have this like established organization?
That first year anniversary. It was just like, it was off a whim. And it wasn't because I wanted to start something to gain attraction or to gain status or anything like that. I knew it needed to happen because if we didn't have it, if we weren't looking out for each other, no one else is going to come in and support this community. Nobody would have.
Yeah.
And it's been great because it's, you could see who, some of these leaders are who care about the back end of a deployment, who came in to make a change within it. So it's been a blessing and a privilege, and it's been a lot of work, a lot of different struggles and challenges, but it's worth it. It's worth it. And I forget who said this, but people think that these big organizations are that's where you can find the help, but it's really when it comes down to these smaller organizations that have these connectivity already. And OAR through OAR, it provided that connectivity very easily and seamlessly.
So you founded it that August of 2022?
Yes, yeah.
Did anybody found it with you, or is it just you're like, I'm gonna start
I would say the guys that I started to basically pitch this idea to, and they were on board. They were like, yes, basically saying this is something that needs to happen.
Yeah.
Which kind of further like gave me that validation that that we should go forward with it.
Yeah.
And it started, we didn't know what to do. Like, we had no business acumen or anything, like any knowledge of nonprofit space or anything like that. But it grew fast, quick.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of attention came to us, and the first thing that we started doing is just telling the stories. Giving these guys at least the space to go forward and tell the story how they saw it.
Yeah.
Without any filter. And, you know, I think that to me is like the first step to actually moving forward in your life is telling your story.
Which is hard because some people don't want to tell their story.
No, I mean, I to this day, I still kind of feel some kind of way about telling my story personally. Sure. Because you know, for one part, I don't want to gain anything from it, but it is important because it opens up the door for other people to tell their story, at least to start telling it to people who are close to them, or to write it out for themselves, or whatever it might be.
I'll tell you right now, man, like, just from my experience, and obviously different life experiences than that, but anything that is a traumatic situation, I would consider that a traumatic situation or a traumatic event in your life. Speaking about it takes the power that it has over you away from it. It's like purging the steam out of a pressure cooker.
Yeah.
For lack of a better term. It's literally like purging that steam, and it like releases that pressure out of that pressure cooker.
Well, it's like, you know, it's the whole concept of that that shadow self, and it's still a part of you. You know what I mean? It's going to come back. It's going to linger in the back, and it's going to come out and you know, take a jab at you. But if you can get in front of it and accept it, and then learn to grow with it, then you'll be good. Yeah. You know, it's better off that way to understand that side of yourself versus to just try to bury it. Yeah.
Now you hired, because you talked about moral injury before. I want to touch on that a little bit. So moral injury. When did you find out what moral injury was? Because I still don't really have a great understanding of what it is, but that was a concept, or at least a phrase that you brought up earlier in the organization's foundings. Who talked to you about that? Who taught you about what moral injury is?
So it was one of my mentors who came to me, and we met up, and he introduced the idea, not the idea, but he introduced the word moral injury to me, and I had no idea what it was at the time. And I was like, you know, I didn't have this, like, I don't think I sit with PTSD or anything like that. It's not something that comes up on me, but like moral injury, which is very similar to PTSD in some of its symptoms. Yeah. I resonated with it 100%. It's, you know, the loss of trust in institutions and people and society. It's the sense of betrayal from leadership or whatever it may have been. It's the extreme shame and guilt that comes from that, and also just, you know, the losing of oneself when your values or your moral compass is compromised. You know, it leads to that immense feeling or loss of identity that comes from it, because ultimately we're, you know, as Marines, we're very idealistic. We have an ideal version of ourselves that, you know, we're constantly trying to meet. And moral injury, when you go through a moral injury, you get knocked off from that ideal version of yourself, or you lose that congruence with your ideal version of yourself, and you get closer to your negative self. And it's a bad place to be. It's a bad place to be when you don't feel congruent with the person you're trying to become. Yeah.
You've talked to a lot of professionals in the mental health space, right? Mm-hmm. What was the number one thing that they felt brought about the most positive results in reducing the level of moral injury that somebody has?
That's a tough one, but I do believe that you know, learning to talk through it is an important place, because all we are, or we're meaning-making people, right? We're here to try to make meaning out of something when we're reflecting on it. And if you could start to you know, start where you're at with whatever narrative it is, if you could start to change the narrative slowly over time to understanding that there's some source of, like, you know, forgiveness, or even like love for that person that, you know, that was dealing with that injury, you start to develop something else, you know. And sometimes it's actionable things, like acts of service. If you can get out there and do something, you know, that reaffirms who you truly are, then that's also another thing that's really important. And that's something that, you know, within the organization we're constantly trying to do and try to improve on. Yeah. And you know, when Hurricane Helene happened, that gave us that opportunity to figure out like this is something that actually helps heal like the moral injury, at least get that person back to that ideal version of themselves.
Yeah.
You know
And I remember talking to you about that. Like, dude, we had some long conversations during that period of time.
Oh yeah.
I remember you saying like, I feel like this is healing me.
Yeah.
Doing this.
Oh yeah. Yeah, 100%. And that's the thing is like, when you feel like you got to a place where you understand your capacity for evil.
Yeah.
It's hard to see yourself as a good person. You know what I mean? Until you start doing things like that.
Well, it's like you were talking about, like you had to put this mask on and play this role to survive. Mm-hmm. You know, and there's probably a lot of people that did a lot of things that they look back and they're like, man, that was awful. What a terrible human being I was. I was sending people to their death. You didn't have a choice. Yeah. That was it. That was the only decision you could make.
Yeah.
And people may have come back and like, it's like, like you said, you lost that congruence with like this idealistic version of yourself. And so how do you make up for that? Well, I don't know the answer, but I do know that one thing that does help probably is just doing things that is a good human being would do, which is helping people.
Yes.
Or being of service to people in some way, in some capacity. And I think that was like one of the big things that stuck out when you were bringing that up when we were talking on the phone is, when you were saying is like, man, being out here helping these people is healing me. And I imagine you brought a bunch of other folks up there, invited a bunch of other folks from the foundation, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah, we opened it up. So I mean, the reason why we were out there is someone reached out to the foundation and they're like, I can't I can't reach my family.
Somebody that knew you guys?
Yeah. So they reached out and they're like, I can't get a hold of my family. I was like, okay, I'll be down there. So in like 20 minutes after the phone call, I packed my stuff up and went down there to go connect with that family.
Was he in Tennessee or in North Carolina?
No, I think he was stationed in Washington State. And,
oh, wow.
Yeah.
So he couldn't come here.
No, he couldn't.
He was way over in Washington State. Yeah. But he was like, can you check on my family for me?
Yeah.
Okay. Were they in Tennessee or North Carolina?
They were in North Carolina. The family was in North Carolina.
Gotcha.
So instantly packed my stuff up, went down there solo.
Solo?
Yeah, solo. And I, on the way down, I was calling all my buddies. They're like, hey, this is what's happening right now. If you guys want to come through, you can come through. And then that eventually led to us, like the organization, being down there for 7 to 8 months after. You know what I mean? So
you guys were doing some awesome work too.
Yeah, it was an awesome experience. It's all obviously very tragic for a lot of people, but
well, yeah.
It's one of those things where when you have experienced certain things in your life, you have this ability to also hold space for other people as well. And that was also a great experience, being able to talk to the people that had that impact happen to them.
Horrible negative experience, but the fact that you were able to bring a bunch of people together that potentially led to some elements of healing for some of them.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And bring people together that maybe they were in a position in their lives where they're like, I need to do something. Like I'm maybe not content. At least for that period of time where they were up there, they had a purpose.
Yeah.
They were doing something bigger than themselves. Being of service, they were helping clean houses out. I saw all the videos and posts that you guys were putting up, like cleaning out houses, taking out trash, doing wellness checks, doing like search and rescue stuff down rivers, like looking for people, all kinds of recovery efforts, just like, and when you're in the, like, obviously tragic situation that happened to these people, but when you as a human being are in that, it takes you outside of all the stuff that you have going on in your background and your past and your life, because none of that stuff matters. You're here right now in this moment with all these people and helping all these people out. And like you were saying, that's a very therapeutic thing. And maybe in some capacity that was something I felt in a different way, obviously, because different experiences, but I was up there and I couldn't be up there as long as you guys could, but like going up there and like being able to do something, even if it was something small, felt good.
Yeah.
It's like, this is what I should be doing. This is as God intended for me.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and regardless of if you believe in God or not, like this is what I believe I should be doing. This makes me feel good. The things I found that make me feel the best are typically things that are of benefit to other people. You know, doing things that have a positive impact on people, doing things that make other people's lives better, doing things that, you know, just provide some sort of help or be of service to other people. That's the most rewarding thing for me. Is it rewarding like making money and like having a nice house to live in and be able to eat good food? Yeah, sure. But like the most rewarding stuff that's like, I would say, penetrates every layer of your spirit is when you're doing something for other people.
Yeah.
For me.
Yes.
And I don't like, because for example, it makes me feel like, you know, it makes me feel terrible thinking about negatives, like thinking about or like running through my mind these negative thoughts about people, or like, man, I really hate that person, or I really like, I hope this person fails, or like thinking these negative thoughts about them, or getting angry about things, or getting super worked up about stuff, and obviously, like, I don't ever act on like being a nasty person to people because I've done that in the past. It makes me feel gross. It makes me feel sick. It makes me feel icky, right?
Yeah.
Doesn't make me feel good. So I don't do that because I want to feel good. And it may be a selfish endeavor to want to feel good, but if what you're doing is helping other people and that helps you makes you feel good or heals you in some way, then that's a good thing. And I'm not talking about like filming yourself giving homeless people food. I'm talking about doing stuff that is like tangibly beneficial to other people. Like, here's some blankets and heaters and propane since you don't have any electricity. Here's Starlink. Here's a bunch of coffee. Here's some like food that you could like boil water and just dump it in, some freeze dried food. And then you guys are also like doing stuff like cleaning people's houses, like, or hey, we're gonna provide some housing for workers to come up here so they can help build homes, or we're gonna do like volunteer our time to do whatever it is. Like there's a unlimited number of ways that you can be of service to people, whether it's a national disaster or not. You know what I mean? It's just a natural disaster. A lot of people, we flocked to that situation because we wanted to help.
Yeah.
You know, because it makes us feel good. And because the part of it, the aspect of it that makes us feel good is doing things to help people and being of service to them. And I guess I'm talking in circles now, but I get, like, I remember having those conversations with you.
Yeah.
I remember talking to you. I was on Double Island, and we were setting up those tents. And you were in Tennessee at the time. And you were telling me about some stories of some things that you were doing. And I remember you sending me pictures and stuff while you were up there in the earlier days, because I couldn't come up right immediately. It took me 10 days before I could get up there because I couldn't just like leave, unfortunately, because my situation's weird. But I took the first 96, or not, it wasn't a 96. No, I took Special Liberty and went up there on Special Lib to help. And then I went back up on Veterans Day weekend for the 96 because I was like, I can just like go because it's within boundaries or whatever. But yeah, I remember talking to you the whole time, like you were staying in that parking lot for that mall for a little while in your car.
Yeah.
During that, and you guys were just like going out doing different stuff, and you're up to something different every day. And I was like trying to figure out like who needed help, who needed what supplies we needed to bring, what's the most valuable thing we can do to have the biggest impact. Yeah. What is it that's needed right now? Because obviously it changed from minute to minute, but anyway, I'm kind of hogging the conversation. What I want to know is, you got down there, you were by yourself before you got there, and there was no cell phone service there, right?
No, yeah.
How did you get in touch with everybody in the foundation?
So we had, I think you knew Beth, or you got a hold of Beth or her contact information.
Yeah.
So we had people within the organization kind of doing the oversight, top-down stuff. Yeah. And, whenever I had the opportunity to reach out to them, and they'd help support support the flow of getting people out there.
Yeah.
So all the volunteer stuff, like the team was so good at this time, and they did such great work getting volunteers out there. And it was just this continuous flow of guys, and it was just really a good opportunity for HCI vets or just vets in general.
There's a lot of vets up there I ran into in different areas.
Oh, man. So many, man.
That were just out there like...
It was so needed for them. Reestablishing that purpose, and then also just feeling like, I have the skills, I have everything that's needed to be here at this time.
Yeah.
And it was fulfilling for them, man. It definitely helped them out a lot. And I think we'll see this a lot more to come.
I hope so.
If there's, any more disasters or anything like that, God forbid. But,
yeah.
Veterans will show up. They will show up because they know that they can be a value add. And we want to continue to do that, especially since, to me, I feel like this is one of the key parts of, healing the moral injuries, the moral wounds that veterans might have. And
that's part of building community, not only for veterans, but for Americans.
Oh, yeah.
Because community is everything. Like, if you have a strong community, your neighborhood's safer, it's cleaner, there's less crime, your kids can play out in the street, right? There's less corruption if you get a close-knit, good community, right? People are being honest with each other, they're staying honest with each other, they're staying honest with themselves. There's a lot of positives for that. And the veteran community is obviously very large, millions and millions and millions of people across the entire nation. And it's good for the whole community to be able to... That's why there's so many VSOs. There's so many VSOs of all different kinds, of every variety, niche you can imagine, because people are trying to cultivate and build community for people to participate in and be a part of. Because like when you leave the military, like you said, you get disconnected from that community, and like you need to find sometimes renewed purpose and to be part of something, which I think is part of the reason why tribalism is so bad in politics right now, with like left and right, because people are desperately want to be a part of something. They want to be a part of the left or the part of the right. They want to feel like they're part of a group. Yeah. Like they're in a tribe. Dude, but that's not the right place to be looking for a tribe. Politics ain't it. No. The best place to look for a tribe is people that have the same, desire to be of service and to help people. I agree. I agree with that 100%. And, nonprofits, they have their own struggle with, connectivity with other nonprofits and stuff like that. And, you see that with a lot of VSOs that feel like they have to compete. But I don't think it's necessary. I think if at the end of the day, I think if more nonprofits are able to have this connectivity with each other, we'd be able to build like pipelines for vets to go into the right direction. If they come out and they're seeking help or anything like that, or seeking purpose, they can get, plug into certain nonprofits, and it should have that interconnectivity, that network that, that's able to provide that. Yeah. Well, the problem is some nonprofits are more like businesses. Yes. As we all know. Yeah. It's not like a secret, and that makes it kind of messy. Not every nonprofit is equal. Yeah. I'm obviously not saying any names or anything like that, but I do think what you're saying is spot on though. Is like, if you could set up a network where it's like, hey, look, none of us care which one you go to do something with. We just want to make sure that we're helping facilitate getting you in the right direction that's best for you as the person, as the veteran.
Yeah,
you know?
and there's a lot of nonprofits that like have things that we're not able to provide.
Sure.
And you know, we have a strong stance when it comes to our ability to build a peer network, but we're not here to solve the problem for everybody. We can't possibly do that. So that's why I feel like the nonprofit space has to be interconnected. They have to have the ability to be like, you know what, I can take this guy, or I can't handle what this guy needs. I know this organization has this, stuff like that.
Yeah. Real quick, for those people out there that don't really know what, because like we haven't really done, I don't know if we've done a good job. I haven't done a good enough job asking the right questions for like what Operation Allies Refuge Foundation does, like specifically, like what your mission is. Would you mind just kind of talking through like what the mission of Operation Allies Refuge Foundation is?
Yeah. So what we're doing now, I mean, there's a lot of figuring out. You know, obviously, I think within our organization, you know, having just gotten out of the military and figuring out like what works, what doesn't. We traveled and did a lot of different things. Yeah. Tested a lot of things. You know, we tested the psychedelics. We tested, you know, the acts of service. You know, starting to build out like peer stuff. But one of our core focuses is this new program called the After War Project. And the After War Project is a peer recovery coaching mission that we're trying to actually provide like, hey, these guys can come to us, they can get a phone call in, you know, then they can also get an actual coach that's going to actually provide them that accountability, that advocacy, that ability to actually grow and develop over time. But we're also really focused on training peers that are able to do that within their own networks, because that's really what the power is these guys getting out there or getting out, and they have this peer network of their own. They can also be that person, be that phone call for their own guys. And that's what we're trying to do going forward is providing that strong person that's able to provide that source of leadership for their own people. And so that's what we're doing going forward. But also, you know, the humanitarian aspect of, you know, bringing these guys in when disasters happen or things like that, giving them that opportunity to reaffirm who they are.
Now, is this isn't just geared towards, you know, folks that were participants in Operation Allies Refuge, right?
No, so the After War Project is open for everybody. It's open for vets, it's open for their families, for their spouses or partners. And that gives them the opportunity to actually build a support network, right, within their own journey going forward. And, you know, they don't have to have experienced combat or experienced kinetic deployment or anything like that. They could just be someone who's looking for support. They can come and you know, if they look up afterwar.org, they can go on that and then they can just plug in their information and they'll get a phone call from us.
What about if they go on to Operation Allies Refuge Foundation.org?
So that one, we haven't connected the two yet.
Okay.
So we will have connection between the two websites here soon, but
working on building it out.
Yeah, working to building that out, but that's our core focus going forward is like our day-to-day is going to be coaching, and it's going to be building peer support networks, it's going to be training, it's going to be doing retreats, all types of retreats, expeditions, mountaineering.
Okay.
And, you know, then there's also going to be some very core and hyper-focused on the moral injury retreats. So those ones were like, you know, learning to recover from moral injury. And those ones are specifically geared towards individuals who've you know, going through that one specifically. So we're comprehensive, but the core focus is the peer support.
Yeah, because I think that's important to clarify, just because I know people probably see Operation Allies Refuge Foundation and they're like, well, is that only geared towards people that were at the evacuation of Afghanistan?
Yeah.
You know, and I think initially that's how it started.
Yeah.
You know, because obviously that's where you just participated in that. You came back. You're like, we got to figure something out to like help each other, because like obviously we're all going through some serious stuff right now. You know, yes. and like I said, it's been evolving. Like as you were, you know, like we've talked about, it's morphing, it's changing, it's flowing, and you're like finding new things that are like innovative ways to help people, be of service to people, and help people heal, and provide sense of purpose, sense of happiness. You know, help people heal from whatever they've got going on, whether it be moral injury or otherwise. You know, and because like the original reason that I came into contact with you guys was because like you had just stood up the organization the year after the anniversary, and I didn't want the sacrifices and like the trauma that was experienced by everybody over there to just be forgotten about by people, because you see how fast the 24-hour news cycle was, which is why I was so eager to be able to participate and support in whatever way I can. And I've obviously still continue to anytime I'm able to, but I think obviously like as you move forward, the way that you're explaining this is good as well, because then you're not pigeonholing yourself where you can't, because there could be plenty of people out there that may need the help, but maybe they weren't at the evacuation, you know?
Yeah, and this is the lesson that we learned, is that, you know, the strength and the power of OAR is because of its connectivity to its, you know, to the people that were there. Yeah. And what we're trying to do now is tell like the next generation or the next group that comes home is like that's the blueprint, is bringing your guys together again. And you know, we keep talking about like these VSOs that are large and big and stuff like that. That's not really what's needed. What's needed is these new groups of peer networks that need to be established as soon as these guys, you know, start coming home and stuff like that, because they need like the, you know, outsourcing people like that. It's not necessarily going to work up front or quickly. Yeah, it's got to come from within.
Well, and I think, don't get me wrong, there are some very large VSOs that do a lot of good work. There's a lot of good ones out there. Like Tunnels to Towers, for example, is a good one. They do a lot to help veterans. Semper Fi America Fund do a really good job.
100%.
They take really good care of veterans.
Yeah.
There's a lot of good ones out there. You know, Hunter 7 Foundation's another awesome one. I love those guys over there too. Different type of, you know, niche, very niched down. There's a lot of good organizations. I think the ones that tend to, at least from what I've seen, tend to be the most successful have the least overhead. They like a little bit more expeditionary, you know? Yeah. Because they can still raise tons of money. Like they can still fundraise like crazy and raise a ton of cash to help support endeavors. But there's less overhead to pay for. There's less logistical support to pay for. It's like much easier, much simpler. Yeah. And so more of it gets back to the individual.
Yeah,
you know,
to
support.
Community,
to support what they have going on or what they're trying to do. Yeah. Not that the big ones don't also do good work as well. Like obviously they do, but I think, you know, I tend to be more drawn to the smaller ones. Yeah. It feels more personal.
Yeah, no, 100%. I think, you know, one of the things is like if you set out, this is the problem with a lot of nonprofits, is that nonprofits are sustaining problems. They're not actually solving them. And if your mission and your goal is to actually solve the mission, your goal is ultimately to dissolve your nonprofit. Like it shouldn't be, you know, you shouldn't be out there trying to make something, you know, making this problem sustainable so that you can continuously keep bringing in a new paycheck.
Like California's got a lot of good examples without getting too political. But there's some good ones out there, like stuff in relation to the fires that happened out there and stuff like that. That's a whole nother thing. But I get what you mean. Yeah, you should want to work yourself out of a job.
1,000%, 100%, and that's what I see with a lot of nonprofits out there, is like they're trying to make this their life, and that comes with problems because it's, you know, they're trying to sustain the problem and instead of trying to actually solve it and then go back to doing something else or something new.
Yeah.
You know, so.
And just to be fair, like I don't have a nonprofit. I don't know the first thing about running a nonprofit. So like maybe I'm not the greatest spokesman on like how a nonprofit should do business. I probably don't know the first thing about how to run a nonprofit, but I like having the flexibility of being able to help people. And I think most people I know at any VSO, they want to help people too.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
in whatever capacity they're able to.
And some of them, I mean, some of these organizations are service oriented. It's like where they have to have, you know, their employees or compensation because they're doing it like they are the medicine. They are the individuals actually bringing it to the communities.
Yeah.
Like hire heroes, like. You know what I mean? They're the ones who are getting these guys plugged in and stuff like that. So obviously they're going to have a lot more overhead, you know, with compensation, but they're doing the work for the veteran, helping that veteran get a job and stuff like that. So, you know, sometimes when people throw the overhead stuff, it depends. It depends on whether or not they're doing the work or they're just taking in a paycheck.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So,
yeah.
It's because I do think that if you're trying to solve a problem, you should be all in. You should be all in. And if it doesn't make sense, then there's no sense in collecting, you know, overhead at all. You know what I mean? So.
Yeah. Again, like you've been doing this for 4 years now, right?
Yeah.
So you've been doing this for 4 years. So you're going to know a lot more about this stuff than I am, by far. But what are some of the things that you have been more focused on as of late, as far as endeavors with OAR? And obviously, is it mostly the after war project?
Yeah. So
piece?
The after war project is the main component of what we're moving into going forward.
That sounds like a very broad subject.
It is. So there's a couple things, right? So the after war project, its primary focus is building peer support specialists or peer recovery specialists.
Yeah.
So that these guys can actually go out and affect change within their own communities, stuff like that. And so what we're trying to do now is lay out a blueprint for how you build a community. How can you start getting out there and start, you know, dating or getting into relationships, you know, building relationships with coworkers, stuff like that. So it's the whole like kind of life development after service is what we're trying to establish. And we want to pass that information out to all the nonprofits, to all the other groups, or just the veteran themselves to essentially go out back into the world again and reintegrate.
Yeah.
But also building leadership where these guys are also affecting change within their own communities or their own people, stuff like that. So we want to get to a place where, you know, the blueprint's there, these guys can collect it, they can go out and do what they need to do in order to have change. But also, you know, part of this is also being that phone call. You know, that late night phone call when you're ruminating, you know, you can't go to sleep, or maybe you're contemplating suicide or stuff like that, and you have someone on your contact list where you can call and you can sit with that person and talk through it. That's a huge part of it, and we want to be that, you know, at least have that connectivity to that individual, or at least have built leadership within their community so that they know that I can contact this person who has the same shared experience that I do.
Yeah.
And that's an important aspect of what we're doing.
I know that you said you'd gotten involved in like medicinal alternatives.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say.
Yeah.
How's your experience been with that?
So I think that it's, you know, obviously with you know the psychedelics, you got to be very careful sometimes, you know, taking on certain individuals, stuff like that. But I do think that it's one of the best tools out there to actually start building or reframing the narrative around who you are and your experience from the past.
Yeah.
It's been obviously one of the hardest parts of the psychedelics is the reintegration after use. And that's why I feel like part of what we're trying to do for any individual that does do the psychedelics or goes through assisted psychedelic therapy is also coaching them in reintegration after going on a retreat or something like that.
Yeah.
Because we've been there, we've done that, we know how that works. The most important aspect is the community, is that connectivity, and also coaching those guys after that experience. It's not everything though, and that's the problem. Is some people think or believe that psychedelics is something that's needed to happen. It's not always the case. I do think that the best medicine out there is the human interaction. It's the connection to another person that understands what you're going through, and that ability to at least have the ability to be coached.
Being coachable.
Being coachable, yeah.
Yeah.
So that to me is like the psychedelics. It's a great tool, but it cannot be everything. It cannot be everything. And we're training ourselves in multiple things, including breath work, trying to get into the fitness scene and yoga and nutrition, understanding relationships better, so that we can provide that as coaches, so that these guys have a full comprehensive ability to understand how do I regulate myself, how do I interact with other people, how do I get involved in the community, stuff like that. So we're still like trying to learn everything at the same time, while also providing the things and the lessons learned that we kind of gained from our own transition back in the civilian life.
Yeah.
So that these individuals, they don't have to struggle. They can talk to someone who's been there, done that, and tried just about everything. So.
Yeah, there's a lot of that sort of thing going on. I think, what's his name? I don't know if it's the governor of Texas. I can't remember his name.
Greg Abbott.
Is it
Greg Abbott? Yeah.
I don't know if it's Greg Abbott or if it's it's not.
No, Rick Perry was also.
Perry. Rick Perry used to be a senator.
No, he used to be the governor.
Oh, he used
Texas.
to be the governor.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. Okay. There
He was pushing the Ibogaine initiative out of Texas.
In Texas, yeah. Mm-hmm. And I know that they've been really pushing hard for it down there. And there's a lot of other
states.
It got
passed too.
Did it?
Yeah.
Okay.
So
there's a lot of other states that are doing the same thing, and I am hopeful that some of these non-pharmaceutical solutions could become more mainstream and allowed by physician or experts, at least permissible by law, especially for veterans. I don't necessarily think, well, I don't know. I mean, I think that if it's oftentimes, I like to think that natural remedies are oftentimes better, just like organic food and natural food that's not processed is oftentimes better than processed food. Yeah. I feel the same way about everything, pretty much. Medicine that occurs naturally in nature, I think I would always feel is preferable to pharmaceutical grade stuff.
It's, taking a holistic approach.
Yeah, holistic is a good word for it. Yeah.
It's literally everything: your fitness, your relationships, it's the food that you eat. It's considering the psychedelics, that if it's like psilocybin or ibogaine, stuff like that, having a comprehensive list of things that you might be looking at when it comes to just living life in general, because it's all process. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Might as well.
Yeah, and everybody's going to have a different number of things that work better in a certain pattern, and every person's pattern that's most effective is going to vary from individual to individual. Yeah. Like some people need to work more on fitness, some people need to work more on spiritual fitness, some people need to work more on getting their diet right. I've found personally, obviously my personal experience, it's going to be very different from everybody else's. There are certain things that I have to work on every single day, and it's like non-negotiable for me. I don't care what work I have to do. I don't care what I've got going on. I need to, if my diet's good that day, it's going to have an impact on my mood. It's going to have an impact on the quality of my sleep. It's going to impact the quality of my interpersonal relationships that day, the way I connect with people. It's going to determine how I feel, my mood.
Oh, yeah.
Food impacts
Everything.
mood. I found that sauna therapy is like one of the most effective things for me. I've been doing that for like, I'd say going on 6 years now. Started really getting into sauna back in 2019, 2020. And that is an everyday thing for me when I'm home.
Yeah.
Every day for 15 to 20 minutes at 195 degrees. And it is genuinely, it's therapy for me. Like I get in there, I'm cooking so hot, I can't think about anything else. Yeah. And I like turn on a podcast, set that on the floor, and I just sweat, and then just hold on, just hang on. I set a timer,
Yeah.
And then obviously I have to do most days, unless I'm extremely busy, I will work out. I'll go to the gym. I have to. That is also a non-negotiable. I have to go to the gym. I have to do sauna, and I need to get enough sleep. Those 3 things. I've found that if really it's 4 things. It should be 5, because spiritual is probably part of that. I think spiritual is probably important. You could replace spiritual with your, if you're not a spiritual person or you're not interested in religion or spiritual stuff, you could replace that 5th one with like interpersonal connectedness with people. That could be your higher power that's greater than you or something like that. But I think the 5 things for me that are most important is diet, sleep, fitness. I guess sauna would go hand in hand with fitness, but diet, sleep, fitness, your interpersonal relationships, I would say, is definitely an important one. And then probably spiritual fitness, which, some sort of belief in something that's bigger than you. It doesn't necessarily have to be, it could be whatever you want to call it. I'm not telling people they need to get into religion or anything like that. I'm not doing that at all. But there has been, and even Joe Rogan, who's been a longtime atheist, is like he's like said recently, like, a lot of people that he knows that are like at least in some sort of spiritual capacity tend to be happier and lead more fulfilling lives.
I mean, on top of that, I just want to add, like, I know some guys who, their approach to actually getting through processing HKI was faith-based, and they weren't even, religious before. Yeah. And it was one of the most profound things for them was to go into that path to actually help them recover. And it's helped a lot of guys, in some cases, some guys who were religious before, they lost their faith after. Whereas some of the guys who didn't have any faith before, they gained it after. And looking at their life now, it's helped them immensely. Yeah. Because that to me is like, when it comes to moral injury, when it comes to, seeing what they saw out there, it's all spiritual based. And the best approach to it sometimes is regaining that sense of spirituality. Whatever that is, I know people who do, get into the psychedelic wheelhouse and they go on those type of retreats, it is spiritually based. Yeah. And that's a core wound, that oftentimes gets neglected. Yeah. So, yeah, I think that spirituality, or at least adding that to your toolbox, it's absolutely necessary. And, we're not here to make meaning for other people. That's up to them. And so, yeah, I think it's an important piece, if not an essential piece to the holistic, path to life.
Yeah, I think that at the end of the day, like, you can only help people that want to help themselves. Mm-hmm. Yeah. That doesn't mean that you don't try. That doesn't mean that you don't open the door and like invite people in that obviously need the help. But you also can't force people to do that either, you know. So they have to make that decision for themselves as a sovereign, you know, sovereign organism.
Absolutely.
You know, but again, doesn't mean that you don't reach out and let people know that you're available, and that when they're ready, or if they're ready, or hey, here the door's open anytime you decide, you know. But it's a very complicated path in general. I think dealing with human beings who've experienced trauma in a profession that most people don't experience is a multifaceted process, and it's not simple. It's complicated.
Yeah.
You know, people are complicated in general. Regular people are complicated. You know, they have a million things that they've experienced that turn them into the thing that they are today, or whatever. You know, folks that have served have that normal person aspect in addition to the other aspects of their profession, which is typically like more high stress than other professions in the United States.
Oh yeah.
Some people had more stress than others, depending on what they experienced. But
and you know this as well. Like on the enlisted side of the house, usually these guys come from, you know, broken homes or a troubled past. And, you know, it's just like your glass being filled, you know what I mean? Like in the military, it's going to get filled more, you know what I mean? And, you know, that's part of the reason why I feel like there's such a need for the interpersonal growth afterwards, especially around people who've seen it and witnessed it and had the struggle themselves.
I mean, what if you had a bunch of trauma when you were a kid and then you joined the Marine Corps and then experienced more trauma? It's like you got a glass with a hole in it.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're never going to fill that glass up until you figure out how to plug that hole.
Yeah. 100%.
And most people don't know how to plug the hole because nobody ever taught them.
That's what I'm saying is, like, you know, the glass itself is the capacity of how much you can actually handle.
Yeah.
And, you know, military, you know, you have all this water already in it. You know, the military is just going to dump a whole bunch more in it. Just organic, like it's just the way that the military is. Yeah. It doesn't even matter if you were someone who even went overseas or, you know, was in country that was, you know, you went on kinetic deployments. It's just going to get filled naturally.
Yeah.
So you're going to have to figure out ways to actually handle that and deal with it. So, yeah.
Yeah. So where do you see OAR going from here? What do you see for the future of OAR?
So OAR, what I'm seeing with OAR is obviously like that side of the house is going to be kind of pushing more into, I would say, the humanitarian side of the house. Like we want to actually amplify what OAR actually means, so Operation Allies Refuge, and focus on things like that. However,
I like that.
The after war project is going to be shaped into something entirely different.
Okay.
Which is, you know, taking the lessons learned from our community and then amplifying that so that the next community that comes home, they're given all the tools and all the things that they need to handle their peer network within themselves. So
maybe the folks that come back from Operation Epic Fury, for example.
100%. So, you know, we want to stay ahead of that stuff. You know, I hate to see, you know, us going back into another war. And it's not something that I think is necessary or we should actually be. I mean, I would like to see a little bit more diplomacy, but yeah, we want to be ahead of that when these guys come home, you know, when it comes to these guys having to learn to live with what they saw or did, and you know, ultimately giving them the tool to also address those needs within their own community, because they know more than we do. And that's why I see a lot of, you know, pitfalls in nonprofits or organizations when we came home, is that they had no idea how to address the actual problem that we were dealing with.
Yeah.
The individuals who come home from war, they may not know how to deal with it right now, but they will know, and they will be able to address that if they're just given a little bit more of attention and mentorship, so that they can take that pain or whatever that they had to deal with and turn that into actual power in order to influence and support the guys within their own community.
I think that's great, man. And, you know, like I said, man, I've been a fan of what you guys do since you started. Obviously, it's like I said, it's changed a lot. It used to be more focused centrally on, the service members who were killed in action at Abbey Gate, and people that were wounded in action at Abbey Gate, and the folks that experienced significant levels of trauma during the evacuation of Afghanistan. And it's kind of, like I said, evolving and transforming into something bigger than that. You know, where you can have an even greater impact, I think.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean that those people aren't going to be able to still be a part of that story. I think it's just that you're finding your path, you're finding, you're kind of navigating this thing and finding out where, like, what the purpose of this whole thing is, almost, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Does that feel like that?
100%.
Okay.
Yeah, it's one of those things where, we started out not knowing like a lot of things.
Yeah.
And we've tested a lot of things, and we saw what works, what doesn't. And it's always being a student, you know what I mean? And that's the thing, like the thing that we're trying to stay involved with. But we do think that, our best approach going forward on the mental health side is training the next group of guys that get out in order to impact their own communities. And then also on the OAR side of the house is learning the lessons that we learned from, that non-combatant evacuation. And then trying to stop, history from repeating itself again. You know what I mean? That's where we want to take things on OAR, on the OAR side. But right now we're really focused on trying to take the lessons from the mental health side and really amplify that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you've got a good solid board of board members, right? How many people are you on the board?
I think we have 6 right now, total.
Yeah.
And
I know a couple of them.
Yeah.
They're good people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
That's good.
I mean, obviously you're the one who introduced them to me, so of course you know that. But you got some good people on your team.
Yeah, we're still growing. I know that, we are always looking for volunteers. We're looking for guys who want to be involved with the, and be trained up on the peer side of the house.
Yeah.
Because I think that's the most impact. So we want to keep that door revolving, just constantly bringing in people that want to be trained and want to go back out into the world and help. So that's where we're at right now. So
yeah. Well, I'm grateful for the work that you guys do, and you are a very level-headed, kind-hearted, introspective, deep-thinking dude, and I've always appreciated that about you, because there's a lot of guys, especially coming from the infantry community, maybe that's partially, and I don't know if it's even the infantry community, maybe it's just like the military in general. A lot of people aren't really in touch with their emotions or their feelings, or they have a hard time talking about the mushy stuff, which is where the rubber meets the road a lot of times. And just talking through things. I'm a talker. I talk through things a lot. Sometimes I talk to myself. Yeah. Because I like to work through stuff. Like when you've got a big ball of dough and you gotta knead that stuff for a good bit. Like you're kind of kneading the bubbles out, right? That's kind of how talking is for me sometimes. Like sometimes I might be talking in circles. It might seem like I'm not really going anywhere, but it's because I'm working that dough out in my brain. I'm getting those air pockets out, trying to figure out like a path to something better, right? And you've done a very good job, I think, of being pliable and malleable, and you do a really good job of communicating, I think, which is one of the reasons why I think that it's great that you're in the position that you're in. Because obviously any good organization needs a good messenger to relay the information that organization is bringing to bear. And you can't get support unless you have somebody who can provide that information in a way that's easily digestible by old gray bearded dudes.
Yeah.
You know, who have the money to support the organization. So or dudettes, right?
I mean,
but,
you know, I just on top of that, I just think that it's important, even in the military, is to build on your emotional intelligence. You know, how can you be a leader without that? You know what I mean? So,
yeah. I agree.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of people, maybe it's like a stereotype where they're like, you need to be a certain way. This is how you're supposed to be if you're in this position. I think what you're saying is probably more accurate. Like, you need to have a significant, and don't get me wrong, like, I still laugh at fart jokes just like every other dude. I'm still a child.
Yeah, of course.
But
that's important, dude.
it is important to be able to cut loose, but also I think the emotional intelligence is important too.
Yeah.
Be able to distinguish between...
It's all discernment.
Yeah, discernment.
Yeah, so it's like there's a time and place for you to be stoic, and there's also a time and place to be able to talk to someone who is going through it.
Yeah.
You know, how can you be a leader if you're not able to sit with someone else and listen to them? And the best way to understand that side of the house is also to have people that can do that for you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, yeah, I think it's, you know, in the infantry, it's a hard place for a lot of dudes because they struggle with the idea of like that being a sign of weakness. But, you know, I think, you know, at the end of the day, I think a sign of weakness would be your inability to be able to sit with someone else that's you know, that's going through it. You can't support them in a certain way. I know that it would just naturally damage all your relationships if you're not able to do that. So.
Yeah, and I've seen that happen with a lot of people I consider friends as well.
Yeah, 100%.
I'm sure you have too.
Yeah.
Yeah, because like, again, you can't make people do anything.
No, you can't, dude. You can't.
And that's part of having an emotional intelligence too.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So being able to accept things and people as they are.
Yeah.
You know?
100%.
It's a tough thing to do sometimes, but that's just like, I mean, you know, say the Serenity Prayer a few times and you'll kind of catch it. But anyway, Joe, I appreciate your time again, man.
Yeah, of course,
it's always good to see you, and I'm glad you're doing well. I'm glad that we were able to make time to do this, and I appreciate your time coming in, and hopefully, you know, somebody sees this that needed to and reaches out to the foundation to be like, hey, what can I do to help?
Yeah.
You know, I'd like to be of service in some way. So keep up the awesome work, and yeah, we'll talk soon. Obviously, you got my number. And we're going to go get some food after this. So.
Yeah.
But,
perfect.
Cool, man.
All right, brother.